Good morning, everybody. My name's Gary. We're going to be doing a bunch of guitar today, and so I want to post this on our website. The website is Jolly Roger. The website is denverguitarorchestra.com, and let me go post over there. I'm running a few minutes late here, and people are going to think that I abandoned the whole project, but just time got away on me a little bit this morning. Let me post this, enter, edit, settings, open a new window, update, and update. Okay, so that's now posted there. Let's go put this on Twitter. denverguitarorchestra.com, and we'll put our little picture on it. Guitar tweet. All right, so we're up and running with guitar. We got some new pieces of music that we need to download, and so some of you already will have done that. And today, let me make sure I'm going to say it correctly here. What we will have on there first, and guys, you guys are coming in and sitting down and getting set up. Segovia patterns are the same. The D major scale is the same, but on the top there, the daily warm-ups, I'd like you to download Exercise 13, Moorish Dance, Prelude Number 9, and Torito. I typed all night last night and did not get lesson 61 done, which was extremely disappointing. You also double check that you have Three Blind Mice, London Bridges, and Andante in G. I need to download very quickly here the 4 new pieces of music, and so we won't get to everything today, but we'll get to a bunch of it. Torito, Prelude, Moorish, and Exercise. All right, let me download those real quick. Okay, and then we'll talk about attack strategy here. Download complete 4 files. Okay, let me get out of here, make sure we're all set. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I'm very excited to get started again with some new material and some new ideas and some making these guitars go. Let me just make sure those downloaded correctly, and then we'll start off with our program here. Exercise, yes. Okay, so I'm in good shape. All right, so here we go. First things first, let's go ahead and grab the Segovia Patterns. Let's warm up with Segovia Patterns. I want to do that every single day until I don't suck at it. And that means we'll be doing it for a while. And guitar. Let's go find Segovia. We're just going to be working on the first measure now for a while. It looks like on Thursday we ended up with MI, so today would be RM, ring middle, ring middle, ring middle, AM, AM, AM is our plan. Let's play those first, and let me double check. Strings must need to be replaced. It was in tune right away. That's what, when you meet new people new to guitar, and they're like, I have to tune my guitar all the time, and you're like, yeah, that's because you have new strings. And then you meet others that are like, I never have to tune my guitar, and you're like, that's because your strings are 7 years old. So let's see. Elizabeth made it in. Monday. Sound is good. Vic is here. Sound is good. Up in sunny. Eugene is sunny. We've got cloudy day here, Vic. So you're winning. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. So let's warm up with this, and then we'll talk a little bit about this. All right. Hey, Pauline. Cloudy this morning and in the 50s. Okay, so California and Colorado, it's all cloudy. Sunny up in Oregon. That's the world we're living in these days, huh? All right, cool. I will will note that my plan was to put my other computer on top of this all of the time so that you don't notice that my niece, whom I love, she bought this little thing at Goodwill for, I don't know, $3 or something. And then she came home and she says, I'm going to paint it pink and red. And we said, okay. And then she moved out and left this behind. So I have what would ordinarily be a perfectly lovely little thing. I think it was sort of a minty green when it started off. I have this pink and red thing, so I don't care enough to repaint it, but it is hilarious on some level that it is now part of our daily broadcast. I'm going to try to remember to set the computer on it so you're not shocked and horrified by her choices. Let's see. Segovia. Ring, then middle, ring, then middle. Ideally, right? Probably rest stroke. Good morning, Evelyn. 66 degrees and cloudy down. Sound is good. Okay, so see, so Vic, you definitely you're the only one with sun this morning. That's funny. All right, from the top, Segovia pattern, C major pattern, ring middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last note. All right, one more time from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. My breath the whole way through. All right, there's your Segovia pattern. And so again, I want to play those every single day for a while, and I got to get better at them because I got to put these on tape here in a little bit. And right now I'm pretty horrible at them. So Segovia patterns every single day going forward. I added a section up at the top called the daily warm-ups, guys. And so the D major scale, we won't do that every day. We'll probably only do it on Fridays. But if you are thinking about, you know what, I'm going to use these scales as my daily warm-up. This week we're working on the key of D. And let me see if I have anything fascinating to tell you about that particular scale. Oh yeah, the fun part about D is you're in 3 separate positions, right? So you start off in first position, and then you're only going to do 5 and 7 in 5th position. Then you're going to go up to 9th position right there to get the next 2 notes. So again, it's not a normal way of thinking about it, more of a guitar way of thinking about it, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. When you're running scales, we are pretty religious. We don't push our fingers either too far forward or too far back, right? We always stay in that 4-finger pattern. So and on the D scale, when you get to measure fret 5, you come all the way up. And even though you could realistically reach up to 10 with your pinky, you don't do it, right? So when you see the 9s, you jump up and your hand moves up here and so on. So again, that 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern, we just make sure it stays consistent all the way going up the fretboard. And there isn't a lot of discussion about that otherwise. Now, those of us who play ukulele, we know we question that a lot because you can quite easily reach 5, 7, 9 frets. You know, this 2007, that particular shape right there, use that pretty regularly in ukulele. You would probably not use that very much. Use that on more advanced guitar pieces, but generally speaking, that's not a shape that a good guitar composer would even think to put in, probably. That's not true. But, well, they might put it in. They probably arrange it where you have enough time to let your two up. So in any event, as you're working through that D scale this week, just remember where it says C5, that means 5th position, and where it says C9, that means 9th position. And so that's kind of standard issue classical guitar, but thinking there. All right, so then I'd like to go look at exercise. You know what? Let's not do that. Those of you who are new in book 1 or working your way through book 1, you've been around a while, you're still wanting to get better. Let's go take a look at Three Blind Mice. So let's get that one set up for the week, that way we've taken care of the book 1 people. So let's go grab Three Blind Mice. This is the last song in book 1, so we've been at book 1 now for 5 weeks, and next week we'll roll it around and start all over again. Three Blind Mice. The most important takeaway from Three Blind Mice is the G chord. Okay? Index finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. Middle finger on the top string, 3rd fret, and ring finger on the bottom string, 3rd fret. Okay. Now the cool thing about G is you have 4 of them hanging around here. So for those of you guys that have been around a little while longer, you'll know that you've got your ring finger and your pinky finger can do 3rd fret strings 1 and 2. Get a little bit punchier G chord. Okay. So if I were going to attack this song and sing it, I would probably, since I see it's all G chord and I'm going to sing, I would probably want the prettiest G chord I could come up with. And it's probably that one. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Three blind mice. Three blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tail with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a sight in your life as three blind mice? And so I like that G chord when I'm just doing, just going to sing a song. It feels a little fancier, a little punchier, a little more in your face. When you have both of these strings held down, they have a tendency to cut through the lumbering blah sound that happens on these low strings. And so it's a nice sound. Now we have 2 other G shapes that you're going to need to be aware of, and even into Three Blind Mice. Instead of using index, middle, and ring, we're going to use middle, ring, and pinky. Okay? That's another G. Same exact notes are being held down, but you're using different fingers, and then this finger's hanging around because he's going to ultimately use, when you get to book 2, to help you get to C chord, and then back to G chord. So you'll see a lot of singers playing with this shape, middle, ring, and pinky, because they know that then now I've got this finger available to help me get to E, to the C chord, and also the F chord. Okay. And also when you're playing with the C chord, it's not uncommon to need a G7, and so there again you will have these 2 fingers will pop up here, and your index finger then becomes useful over here. So lots and lots of singers will not use either this G shape or this G shape. They will be using this G shape. Again, giving them options with their index finger. Okay, and for those of you guys that are been around a little while, you know your lovely F chord. You make your E chord with middle, ring, and pinky. You slide it up 1, and now you have an F chord. And you slide it up to 3 and you get a G chord. Well, there's yet another G chord to work on. If you use this one, you end up with 3 blind mice. 3 blind mice. See how they run. See how they run. All went after the farmer's wife, and so on. Okay, so that's another G chord that's that you'll end up using quite often versus this one. This is my least favorite, and it's the one you have to use on the tough acts in this piece of music. This is probably my favorite regular G chord, middle and ring and pinky. And the one that we're learning today, if you're in book 1, is just index, middle, and pinky. Lots of choices. Okay, let's play the melody, make sure you know how it goes. Now when I sang this, I sang the middle part twice as fast as it's written on this paper. So let's play it according to the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's 3 blind mice. Take away from that melody-wise, if you're in book 1, if you're a newer player, you're thinking that should be relatively doable at this point. We've spent about 5 weeks going through, and every single song we've been taking time to play through the melody. This one has 1s and 2s and 3s, so you know that that 4-finger pattern there, you're going to just move those to whatever they need to be on whichever string, and then use my thumb to pluck through this effectively. Without any big challenges. Those of you guys that are thinking classical music or just thinking about upping your game all the way around, you would be thinking about index middle, index middle. Whoops. So on. The one thing I notice a lot, people will run out and buy these skills drills type books for guitar, which aren't a bad thing. I mean, they're very good. But you take the skill and apply it to a song, and you will know, generally speaking, is the song making sense, and am I doing the skill that I'm thinking about doing? And I think a lot of times you'll learn a whole lot more about developing the skill set using a song than you will an exercise, because exercises are usually set up in one of 2 ways. Most exercises are set up so you'll be successful, but some exercises are set up to challenge you, and so sometimes those can be much harder than anything you might run into in a regular song. And so I was watching last night, they had the Meghan Markle Harry thing on TV, and I'm busy typing and working, and it was sitting on the so you keep looking up like, what did she say? What's going on? And of course, in all of that, then I am like wasting time, and I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna go check Instagram. One of the Instagram people that follows me, so I follow them back. She had purchased the ukulele version of the ukulele aerobics, and it's a good book, but it's like she's recording them and putting them up onto there, and it's just nothing to listen to, So I'm not against those exercises at all. They're actually very valuable, but you can also bring the same exact thought process to a song, and you'll know whether you're playing the song right, and because it'll sound goofy. Final thought on 3 blind mice. Here's your G chord, and that would allow you to play the tough acts, but in this case I'm going to play it with this G chord because we have a melody note that's going to show up on the 3rd string number 2, and the only way to get to it conveniently is to have this finger available to slide that up under there and hit that 2. Okay, it happens in the very first measure. So let's grab this G chord here, middle ring and pinky, play down 5 strings. Now add your index finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string, and then take it back off. And then use your pinky up here to just a decorative note to help count the beat. Do it again. Decorative note. Move your pinky to the 2nd string. Now your index fingers will open, so go play the 2 ones. And then open. Hit that 3 again. 2nd string. Hit the 3. Pinky onto the 1st string. Index finger 2 on the 1st string. Up and back. And dive over to your pinky. Pinky on the 2nd string. Pinky on the 1st string. Index finger on the 2. Bow 2. Pinky finger. 2nd string. 2 is your index finger. Pinky on the 3. 2nd string. Strum. 1 on them with your index finger. Open G. Hit the 0 on the 3rd string. Put your index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And then 4 strings. Pinky. Okay. So what's happening is these 2 fingers never move. That's the thinking behind this piece. Don't have these 2 fingers move at all. Let's give it one more time through. 1, 2, 3, 4. Taken reasonably basic song and made it as complicated to play as possible. Using the complicated G, making sure your melody notes are popping in there with the least amount of work by using your index finger, and we'll be playing that song all week. I think, well, this is one of my favorite songs to play on ukulele. This is one of my least favorite songs out of book 1, not because I don't like the song, but because it is pretty challenging to play, and your hand really does. It is really going to do a good job of helping build your thumb strength, and then also getting you where you're cognizant of, boy, don't let go of these 2 strings no matter what happens, and you'll end up with a nice piece of music there, a nice way to warm up with, or a nice practice song. Probably not going to present Three Blind Mice as a musical piece anytime soon. All right, now let's go to, what time are we dealing with? 10:30. Let's go ahead and play London Bridges. Let's play London Bridges next. All right, London Bridge has I like the song in the sense that this is another one of these songs that's really good to practice the skill set in the song. We are going to be using, for the first half of the song, A chord, an E chord, and back to A. Okay, so that's going to be level 1 chords, book 1 chords. Then when we move over on to book 2, is my foot thing going? Not yet. When we move into book 2, or the second page of it, what you'll find is that the chords are, of course, different, but they're still in a chord set. And when we have that happening, you're going to notice that one way is better for your singing voice than the other. Okay, so on page 2, we're at C and G. And notice I put on the fancy G on there. You don't have to do the fancy G, but you might want to. Okay, so let's sing through it one time and just notice the key change and see how it affects your voice. 1, 2, 3, 4. London Bridge is falling down to E, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Okay, pretty singable. Then go to C. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Okay, now the important thing here is, for me, I went from singing in A to singing in C, and my voice went up. But you don't have to have it go up. You could have it. You could drop it. London Bridge is falling down, falling down. But then it gets too low. So don't. I took me a while to figure this out, but just because there's a key change and your tendency is to go up doesn't mean you're required to. You could drop an octave and go down as well. I have found that if you can't sing it on the high octave, you probably can't sing it on the low octave either. So if my choice here would be, I think I'm sticking with the A-E pattern. Other thing to pay attention to, those of you guys that are really working to understand how music works, first page, A and E. So if I put these on my fingers, A, B, C, D, E, 1 and 5, right? When I go to page 2, I've got C as my main chord, C, D, E, F, G, and sure enough, shows up just as conveniently and as regularly as you'd want. The big takeaway from that would be, especially for singers, you are going to end up transposing songs into other keys, and as guitarists, you want to have some ability to just do that. And so this is one of the pieces in the program that is pretty good about helping you understand, hey, 1 and 5 are always going to go together. If I'm on page 1 and I'm in A, E is going to go with it. If I'm on page 2 and I switch over to C chord, then G is going to come with it. And that 1-5, and as we've talked about on other songs, 1-4-5 program is such a foundation in Western music that you're going to see it in every type of song, no matter how complex it is. That's going to show up. So let's go ahead and play the melody real quick. Make sure we don't see anything in here. Notice as we go from A, page 1, A and E, we're mostly 2s and 3s, right? A few zeros in there. When you go to page 2, all of a sudden you're in 3, 5s, and 1, so you're much more spread out on the fretboard. If I were on ukulele, we wouldn't even be talking about stretching it. We simply would stretch. But when you're on guitar and you know you're at 1, 3, and 5, that is quite a bit of a stretch. For some people, that might not be too much, and you may have to jump up to 5th position and back to 1st and so on. Not ideal in it by any stretch of the imagination. I think you should be able to stretch 1, 3, and 5, and then you'll be able to play the whole song just with those notes. But you can see immediately why Segovia does not ever do that. Where you're 1, 2, 3, 4, he's not going to stretch to 5. He's going to slide up to 5. Okay, let's play this melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's our idea. All right, so now you've got the melody, and you'll see, obviously, in the middle of the song it switches. Let's play the tough acts real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 2, strum, 3. I'm just using my ring finger. Partial strum, 3, and then a full strum. Switch to your E chord. I'm sorry, what did I hit wrong there? I'd probably use my pinky to get to the 2 because I know I have to use it on my 3, and I'll just push it forward. And then go back to the A chord. Okay, here we go again. E chord. A chord. And these are 2 notes are just going to be to help pick you up into page 2, and then grab your C chord, pinky on 3, never pleasant, go. Slide up to 5, back to 1, or 3 back, and then to 1. Another C chord. Index on 1, pinky on 3, index back where it goes. G chord, ring finger, index, C chord. C chord with your pinky. Fancy G chord. C chord. Okay, and so you can suddenly see page 1 as a guitarist, you'd way rather play in the A chord because you're just having to make some minor adjustments, minor to the overall chord structure. When you go to page 2 where you're playing in the key of C, little less friendly on guitar, all of a sudden you are working quite a bit harder. And you see that in my arrangements where I will take a song out of the original key and put it into something that's more playable on guitar, which causes listeners who have the song memorized the other way a little bit of consternation for the first 2 or 3 notes, and then they're like, oh, okay, I guess everything's going to make sense. But when you take something from the original key and move it into a different key, people's ears do pick up on that for the first note or 2, but then after that, it goes away. They don't notice it anymore. And as guitarists, obviously, especially fingerstyle guitars, we're always going to try to put stuff into something that's going to give us the most bang for our buck. And if I want to play London Bridges, I want to play it in A every single time because I don't have to work quite as hard as I'm playing it in C. But if you're working in an ensemble and there's a singer in there or somebody, or there's a piano player, they're going to way prefer working in the key of C over the key of A, and so you will end up adapting to them. And so you need to know how to do it both ways. I think trying to think of what I was about to say. I don't even remember. Let's play it one more time through from the top. 1, 2, ready, play. Pauline asks, do you modulate between key changes? So that's a complicated question you're asking, Pauline. And in this case, the modulation is when you're in one key and then you typically, playing along, you don't just have a stop and then you go into the other key. So in this case, if you look at measure 8, I'm going along, my fair lady. You usually don't do that. So if there's no modulation, bam, you're just going to hit this C chord, and it's going to sound weird for 1 or 2 beats until, in this case, it'll sound weird until you play measure 11. You'll be like, oh, what are they doing? Are they holding their chord wrong? So there's no modulation if I don't do that. But and in this case, it would absolutely, your audience would know, hey man, they just switched keys. There was this really rough moment where we were going along happily in one key, and then you bam, and then you started in the other key. Happens in music all of the time. A lot of times in country music, you'll hear that where achy breaky heart, they go along and then they go into another key. And mamas don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. What's his name? The guy with the ponytail, Willie. You know who I'm talking about. He's going along, and then he just goes from the key of C to the key of D, just changes it up. And so you'll hear that a lot in music. But what we like to do as classical guitarists is kind of sneak around and do that a little more suspicious, with a little bit more grace and style. And so in this case, when I'm modulating out of A and into the C, if you look in the tough axe, measure 8, what you get is my fair lady. Now I hit a 2 after that, which is still part of the A chord. I'm sorry, and I'm on the wrong strings here. Let me do it again. Lady. My next note is the 2, which is still part of the A chord. And then luckily I've got an open string E sitting at the end of measure 8. That E note is shared by the A string, as well as, if you put your C chord on, that string is still open. And so that helps me modulate from the key of A to the key of C, this E note. Okay, since the chord of C and the chord of A each share an E note, that's the ideal candidate to make that modulation. And so exactly what you're talking about there. In this case, it's a one-note modulations. My fair lady, A chord, modulation, C chord. London bridges. Okay, and so that's the modulation, is just that one note at the end of measure 8, an E, bink, okay, and so then that makes sense to your ear, and there's not really a wall that you hit and then you're changing your chord. Gives you a little bit of a pickup into the next idea, and so certain composers do more of that than others. If you're listening to Bach, he will modulate by going through the circle of fifths until he gets around to where he needs to be and then goes on. In fact, I saw a Facebook post, 6 months ago, where somebody was saying how to modulate, and he used all of the famous composers, and the more modern ones used way weirder systems than the older ones. Beethoven was pretty good about modulating off of the 4th chord in the key. So in this case, the 4th chord, A, B, C, is D. He would sneak around when in the song. When he got to D, then all of a sudden he'd start writing the rest of the song in the key of D. And you're like, wait a minute, how did I end up in D? I thought we started in A. And that was typical for when I was playing in piano and learning how music theory worked. Was I'm playing these Beethoven tunes. All of a sudden I'm in a different key, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't even know. That I hope I'm answering your question, Pauline. Am I modulating? Yes, I'm using a single note E on the high string because it's shared by the A chord and the C chord, and suddenly you can sneak into that C chord, and it's a pretty fast modulation, obviously, with one string. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, ask it again. Okay. Finally, we worked on Andante in G last week. I'd like to play through it one time, and then we'll talk about exercise 13 in Maurice Strand's Prelude and Torito and what I'd like you to do on that. So let's go play Andante in G real quick, and just so we get it on our radar early this week. There it is. All right, remember with this one, holding the chord shape is going to really help you out. In most cases, it will not help you particularly at measure 4. You're probably going to have to memorize your finger position. And measures 7 and 8 feel like total free-for-all. And so, again, making note on your sheet music of which finger you're going to use at any given moment. I've already changed one of my fingering that I had typed in here. Measure 7, the first note in measure 7, I was originally playing it with my pinky, and I have now switched to my ring finger on there. And then I can still switch to my index finger to get the 2 there. And since it's a 3, it makes, back when I did it, the initial one, I was like, man, I really want to have that extra option of using my other fingers, but I don't need that anymore. I think it was a bad choice. Start from the top. We'll play it through just one time. We'll do the repeats. Play down to 4, come back to 1, and then so on, and then 5 through 8 twice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you play the whole thing and then you mess up three notes and you're just like, oh, I am the worst. Uh, that's not too bad. All right, so quick discussion on the new music and what I need to do. So on DenverGuitarOrchestra.com under the daily warm-ups, I'm going to need to memorize measure one of the Segovia patterns, and then I'm also going to need to memorize exercise 13, Moorish dance, prelude number 9, Torito, and lesson 61. So I'm going to need to play those every day. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get here a little bit early every day and run through those particular pieces. I'll just open up the room, and then we'll continue on each day on our regular mission, which is books 1, 2, and 3. But if you want to show up a little early, I'm going to just open up the room and then I'm going to practice those. I think there's some accountability that I'm looking for there for myself. When I have to memorize, it's usually a bit of a that does not come easily at all for me. Luckily, these tunes are not overly complex, and so I want to play them every single day. So I'm going to try to show up by 9. I'm sorry, not 9. By the top of the hour. I want to be up and running by 10 a.m. every day, and that gives me 4 or 5 minutes just to work on those. So if you walk in and you see music going on, sit down, get warmed up, get tuned up just like any other day. And then as soon as I get through all of those pieces, then we'll play our daily songs as well. But I need that sort of accountability for myself to get those things memorized. And if you want to get 5 songs memorized as well, then that would be one thing to do. Obviously, I still need to post lesson 61. I'll get that written up tonight. Tomorrow, we'll again continuing our study of Three Blind Mice. Mary Had a Little Lamb is the exact same situation as London Bridges in that you have a key change in the middle, and so it's a great chance for you to practice, modulating keys. And then remember, tomorrow we also have Colorado Trail, and I posted a revised version of that. Let me make sure that the one on the website is correct. March 3rd, 2021. Yeah, so you guys have the revised version of Colorado Trail on the website. And again, with that one, just focus in on making sure if you're playing the arpeggio that you're making those notes with the caret above them a little bit louder than the notes around them, and you'll end up with a really beautiful piece of music there. So that's the plan for tomorrow, and that's the plan for the week. That's the plan for the next couple of weeks, actually. And so I hope that fits in with your plans, and we will continue our adventure going forward, making great guitar music available to average people like me. And tell your friends. Next week we start the Book 1 program again. So if you know people that are thinking about, hey, I might try playing guitar, let them know next week's the week to get on board. We do Brother John, and then we do Frere Jaga, and then we do Farmer in the Dell, and then we do Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Once you get to Row, Row, Row Your Boat, you know you're legit. And then Three Blind Mice is actually kind of challenging there. So, Evelyn, good to see you. Pauline, Vic, Elizabeth. We have a few other people hanging out in here. I'm glad you guys are here as well. And if you could make plans now for a random act of kindness next weekend, make sure to get your vaccine when you can and be safe until that happens. Practice every day, right? 1 minute a day. Just sit down with your guitar, put it up in front of you, play the Segovia scale, and then if you do anything else, then that's a bonus. And then keep showing up here. That's the one thing. I show up here to get better, and so you should take that as advice that you should be showing up here to get better. If you are logged into Gmail or YouTube, if you will give me a thumbs up, that's apparently helpful to me. And that's it. So Nancy, good to see you. Good to see you here. Vic said it's now cloudy in Eugene. All right, so the entire world is covered in clouds. That's now I feel better. Thanks, Vic. And Nancy and Elizabeth, you bet. Guys, I'll talk to you tomorrow. See some of you in harmonica. I'll see some of you in ukulele. Have a great afternoon.